Okay, so literally life is so crazy right now that I'm filming this video as I'm about to head off to rehearsal, so I have like 10 minutes. So I'm sorry if I rush, but I really want to get a video out and my life has just become crazy. Today we're going to talk about jobs. So I haven't had a survival job in about 4 years. I left my job at waitressing at a restaurant to film my first feature with my friend Hannah, and I didn't go back. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how I make a living in Los Angeles, because acting does bring in quite a bit of money for me, but it's not enough to make ends meet. On a good year, I'll probably take home, as you saw in my one of my videos, like 19,000 maybe. So it's not really enough. I'm lucky to have a husband who works full-time and he makes a good amount of money in post-production. He works in visual effects. If anybody's interested in hearing about what he does, he works on incredible projects. This year he worked on the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. He worked on Superman. So he does really well and that helps. But the truth is I do still need to work and make money. It's expensive out here. So I'm going to start with some of the jobs that I've done and what I thought about them. My first job when I moved to LA was retail. I worked at Bed Bath & Beyond, and I learned a lot at that job, a lot of transferable skills, honestly, that have really helped me, but it was minimum wage and the hours were terrible. The company culture also wasn't incredible. There was a lot of sexual harassment at the store that I was at, and it didn't feel like an incredibly safe place to work. So I was there for a bit. I ended up leaving and going to my next job, which was an office job. Now, I worked an office job in college, so it wasn't like I got hired sight unseen. I had been an administrative assistant for 3 years in college, so I became an office administrator at a nonprofit theater company in Los Angeles. This was in about 2011. But anyway, I was working at this nonprofit theater company and it was so much better than retail. It was more than minimum wage by like $3 an hour, and it was pretty flexible because it was a theater company. I didn't, though, have any ability to move up because it was a small nonprofit. But, I had the ability to work overtime when we had shows. And overall, I would say it was a good job for me. So office work is, I think, definitely something that can be considered. If the office that you work at is willing to be flexible with your lifestyle as an actor and let you take off in the middle of the day to do an audition or film an audition at the office. And then I did some dog walking. I love it. I love dogs, but that job is not flexible because those dogs need to pee and eat and do all the things that animals do, and they're depending on you to come let them out to do those things. So flexibility, that is like a negative. And unless you work for yourself, it's not a lot of money. I was making $12 an hour in 2016, and it just wasn't enough. After I stopped working with a dog walking company, I was able to make with those independent clients like $30 an hour. So you can make okay money. The next job that I had was gym front desk. I worked at a boxing gym in Santa Monica that is no mas. And I had always heard that working in fitness was really good for actors because much like a coffee shop or something, like you could work early morning shifts and be free for auditions. I found the early mornings to be absolutely awful. I was waking up at 3. I'm still haunted by the sound of that alarm. There is a difference between finding a survival job that gives you money, but also finding one that doesn't completely ruin your life. And sometimes it's worth taking a hit, for me, in the hourly pay if I have the flexibility that I don't destroy my health or my morale, So at the end of the day, I didn't like the front desk job. I thought at the time, I can totally do this. And it ended up really, really tanking my health and happiness. And then I went to waitress at a restaurant where I was there for a little over 2 years. It was like a casual dining, really good job. I mean, I get it, you guys. I get it why people say that bartending and waitressing, serving, works really well for actors because the tips, you're making easily 30 to 50 an hour. So you can work less hours to make the same amount that you would work somewhere else. Also, you're working shorter shifts. So it's theoretically easier to trade with people. At least for me mentally, if somebody asked me for a trade, it was like, well, it's 4 to 5 hours, sure, as opposed to hey, can you take my mid shift at Bed Bath & Beyond? It's 11 to 7. A lot harder to switch. So those are all the jobs that I did. And if I had to pick a best one, drum roll, waitressing. It is cliche, Serving as an actor is cliche, but I think it's cliche for a reason. The flexibility, the hourly. There was a gal I worked with who would film her commercial auditions in the parking lot against the white wall in our lot. You can really make it work for you in a way that a lot of other jobs have difficulty. So now I'm going to go into the jobs that I currently have, because I just recently got an actual job, which I will talk about in a second, but I haven't had like an hourly job since that waitressing job 4 years ago. I have a series of side hustles. And I know that's not attractive. I know that it seems like a lot to manage, and it is. But for years, that's worked for me. And it has supplemented my acting income enough that, I don't know, it felt good. So here are my side hustles. Teaching acting to adults in Los Angeles. I sub, which is nice because I don't have a dedicated class I have to do every night, but I'm a good person to call if you need a quick sub. So that, whenever I get the chance to do that, it's about $200 for a night of an acting class. Not bad. I also coach actors, both for auditions and manager meetings and all kinds of things like that. I charge $60 an hour for that. And then I do every now and then do the occasional dog walking, dog sit. A friend of mine has a business and I'm one of her walkers. And generally it's around like $30 to $45 an hour there. The other thing is I have in the past done a couple of workshops. I have an acting workshop out and a producing workshop that I've done. And that pulls in a fair amount. I think in general over the last 5 years, I've made about $3,000 a year on those workshops. So that's done okay. YouTube, obviously, hopefully in the future will be something, but who knows? I'm just having fun doing it right now. So that hopefully will pay off, but who knows? And then producing, of course, a little bit more job than side hustle, but it makes me a little bit of money. It doesn't make me nearly as much as probably people think it will. For example, like a feature might pay me $20,000 over 3 years, maybe if I'm lucky. So it doesn't pay a ton, but I get to be involved in the art form that I love, and so that's not bad, I guess. And then for the job that I just accepted, and this is gonna sound contrary to what I said earlier, front desk at a gym. So I just accepted a front desk position, but I accepted it because this gym, it has hired me to become a certified personal trainer. So I'm currently going through the NASM certification. I'm about a third of the way through, and I will be transitioning from front desk to personal trainer when I am certified. So that's part of why I accepted that position, and I kind of like it. It's nice to clock in and out again. So I want to talk a little bit about my ethos of jobs and why I haven't had one, why I do have one again, because I think that's really important. When I was younger, in my 20s and early 30s, it really stressed me out to have a job that conflicted with auditions, especially when we were going in person. And commercials are still largely in person, because it felt like I was gonna have this like stress bomb on any given day where I'd be asked to go across town and be on camera in Santa Monica for an audition, and I have a shift, And I didn't want to deal with that stress. But the trade-off was I dealt with a very different kind of stress. I dealt with the stress of cobbling together a year from all of these random side hustles and never really being sure where the next paycheck was going to come from. I decided to choose that version of hard as opposed to the version of hard where I had to work with my job to get a shift covered because I had an audition. But the truth is, everything's hard. Choose your hard, right? We all hear that all the time, but the reality, boots on the ground, is that it is going to be stressful, it is going to feel like scrambling, and that is just part of the life of being an actor. Over the years, I'd had a lot of conversations with my husband around our lifestyle and what we wanted. And maybe for the first 11 years of our marriage, it felt like my husband was advocating for stability. And I had a really hard time with that because I couldn't offer that as an actor. I generally made a good amount of money. It's just that it could come in December or it could come in January. And we kind of never knew. So we might be kind of operating in the red for 90% of the year. And then I get a job that pops us into the black, into even, balancing that checkbook. And we would have discussions about it, very difficult emotional discussions around what was the lifestyle he wanted, what was the lifestyle I wanted, what was the compromise between, and was it possible for both of us to live a life we loved, given our lifestyles are so different? By lifestyle, I mean jobs. Well, that changed over the last 2 years. Part of it is probably the shrinking payouts that I'm seeing as an actor and realizing that I don't know if the world of making a living as an actor exists even a little bit anymore. And also part of it was I suddenly realized that The discussion that we were having, that I thought we were having, my husband and I, was between stability or not. It was an economic discussion. What number do we need to hit for you, husband, to feel good? And I realized we were having the wrong conversation, because it's not about hitting a number at all. And this year, really, it hit me like a ton of bricks that I didn't care about the number that I hit. I wanted to be a part of the world, and I wanted to be working. So I'm only working 2 shifts at this gym. And how it has changed my chemistry to just do that is pretty wild. So I would say when you're looking at your lifestyle as an actor and the jobs that you want to have and the things that you want to do, it's not just about hitting a number. It is about having something for me that ties me to the physical world. And being in the workforce is something that helps me feel grounded, I guess. And also, it means if everything falls apart, I might have something to fall back on. And I love having a plan Z. If you've worked with me as a producer, you know I have plans on plans on plans. For me, having a job, and I realize that this sounds entitled and privileged to say that I prefer to clock in and out of a job. That's just where I'm at right now. Obviously, like if I made a ton of money acting, like a ton, we'd be having a very different conversation. But the truth is most of us don't. Most of us don't. So having something else where you know money is coming in, even if it's not enough to pay your bills, but it is money coming in, that makes me feel more solid and more a part of the world than auditioning and waiting for the next acting gig constantly. It means that I'm still doing something. I'm not just waiting. I'm not just auditioning. I'm not just hoping that the industry takes notice of me as an actor or a producer. I am also saying, hey, I need to make money now, and I need to pay my bills, and I need to invest in certain things, and so I'm gonna get a job. So far, it's only been 2 weeks. I also booked a play like right when I got this gym job. So I suddenly went from like working 40 hours a week to working 70. I so far have really enjoyed knowing that money is coming in, even if it's not a lot. It's hard to never know where your next paycheck's gonna come from. So I'm choosing this hard for now, the hard of having a variable schedule and trying to figure out my life. And that could change. But for now, this is where I'm at. I'm curious if any of you have side hustles or jobs, as we sometimes call them, in the industry, outside of the industry, how that's worked for you. Please feel free to leave something in the comments below to let people know. Again, this is just my experience and the advice I would give based on my own experience, but the human experience is varied and wonderful and strange. And so we're all gonna have different parts of this. We're all gonna be holding different parts of the elephant, as that little analogy goes. So it's whatever floats your boat, and it's whatever kind of hard you want to choose, really, at the end of the day, to make you happy, because life is happening now, and rather than waiting for it to happen and waiting to live, I wanted to stop waiting to live as an actor and just start living as a person. And boy, is it different. Anyway, I hope you're all having a good day. I'm gonna go to rehearsal now so I'm not late, and we'll talk soon.